Bombad.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
Here we go, Bombad fam. We are here. We are stoked. We're fixing to talk about the Rise of Skywalker documentary, the Skywalker legacy. But before we do that, I got to bring in my wonderful, beautiful, weirdo co-host, Gerald, the cabled Junklold. What's going on, Gerald?
Not much, man. Did you like swallow a John of Gold apple or something? You know, like really pronounce the olds and stuff there. I tell you what, though, Scotty, it does my heart. It does my southern heart good.
Yeah.
To hear someone finally saying we're fixin' to do something, because they don't say fixin' to down here.
Did I say that?
You did. No.
Wow.
I love it. It's like a southern thing, though.
Okay,
it's like,
boomer.
It's funny when you move to a different part of the country, you find out what are like you just grow up thinking like all the words are they're like,
of course,
this is English. This is the words people use.
Yes.
Even from like where you are in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to like where I used to live in Arkansas, there would still be cultural differences. Which
Isn't that crazy?
Insanity.
It's
crazy.
Fine and like a sharp kind of thing that no one will notice except when you're in a situation and a phrase is used, you're like, wait a second, that's never been used before around me. You know, just
you're so close, and that you're so like you're 1,000 miles away or something.
Yes, yes, and I love you. Too.
And it's just I love you too. But like I
love you.
It's just I think it took all of us getting on lockdown and like self quarantine.
Yes,
that to realize how different we are in different parts of the country. You know, it's like you're like thinking more about like, we talk way different over here.
Well, it's been like watching
down the street
my governor's press conferences every day, and it's like hearing him and I'm like, man, I know exactly what area of Louisiana you're from. Like I know. like it's just how it is.
Right.
And I'm sure the same with every other governor, throughout this entire nation right now. But back to the point at hand. I'm sorry. We're kind of going off on culture and anthropology.
This is Bombadcast unplugged. This is Bombadcast maybe a bit unhinged.
Truly.
This is Bombadcast social distancing edition.
Yes. Well, I want to say one thing. Last week we had the week of our lives for Bombadcast. Wednesday we had the After Arc show, our first one. Tuesday we had a live stream with surprise guest Pete Fletzer. If you haven't saw that,
Thursday.
Thursday.
But it doesn't matter now because we're in the future.
Yes, it was last Thursday in the past of our futures. We had
That's
Pete
a fun
Fletzer.
live stream too. Even if you missed it, go
great.
check it out. It's so much fun.
Pete shows up. Pete Fletzer from Around the Galaxy podcast shows up, and we scroll through eBay, which kind of has planted a seed that might grow into a bountiful fruit tree one day. And then last Friday, Jerry and I went to social media and were harassing each other like two teenage girls over the special editions. And it was absolutely incredible. If y'all had the chance to see that, please let us know in the comments or just message us. It doesn't matter.
It honestly reminds me of those two dudes, like, the two nerds who are mad at each other.
Yes.
In the hallway and are like saying like, well, you thought that Picard couldn't. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disparage Star Trek nerds, because Star Wars nerds are just as bad.
Yeah, that we are.
But it's just, you know what I mean. It's like
it's pronounced Han, not Han. That would be the.
You thought that Gundam. You don't like the right version of Gundam Wing. Stuff like that. Is what it reminded me of. But it was fun. We kind of thought we'd do like a little bit of peek behind the curtain here. We thought we'd do kind of like it was. Actually, it's all you, Scott. Scott had the idea like let's do like this thing and like almost like WWE, man, wrestling.
I'm going to kind of pull the curtain away. I'm going to pull Snoke's curtain away real quick.
We're going to pull it down. We're going to burn it to a crisp. That was it.
So
very flammable curtain.
Yes. Well, this is how it went. I had a situation last week where my grandma had to go in the hospital and like delayed me editing for like 2 nights on episodes because I was exhausted after it. The night I was at the hospital, I obviously couldn't edit. So when we came back, I dropped the After Arc show. We did the live stream, and at that point, I still hadn't edited the Hello Greedo episode. So that night I was editing it. I edited it all. It was great, a fun thing to edit. And then when it was rendering, it was a big file. It took I almost dropped the F word. It took a long time to render this sucker. And when I did do it, the whole entire time I'm sitting there making memes. And like it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm just like, I'm so mad at you, Jerry. And like, I really wasn't mad. But
you're like mad at me because you're editing that episode like late.
But like I was typing those memes up and I was making them. So if you haven't seen the memes yet, go check them out. But also go listen to that episode with Hello Greedo. I don't know if many of our listeners don't like Hello Greedo, but you really should. He's an incredible content creator, especially with that episode. He just delivered, and it was a real fun listen. Honestly, that was one of the few that I went back and listened to the entire thing again once it posted to Apple Podcasts. So I was truly impressed with how well that one came out. But plug. Hope y'all enjoyed that episode. But with that being said, Jerry, what is the topic of discussion today? Why this?
Well, because, again, as the world
burns,
kind of descends out of our control, we kind of forget about release dates. It seems that the big companies, especially Disney, is forgetting about release dates.
It's so weird.
Like that. And it's weird, but it's amazing. It's one of the things that I am kind of impressed with this whole. I'm impressed with. There's a lot of. This isn't like the people working at the grocery stores and the people like the emergency workers, all of them,
Yes.
But and again, hats off to those people. If you're listening to this and you're like if you work at a grocery store or if you're a doctor, a nurse,
healthcare, whatever.
Healthcare, whatever you're doing, if you're still working during this and you're one of those emergency workers, thank you.
Yeah.
Right now from us and from, I'm sure, everyone listening right now. And,
of course.
And stay safe, stay healthy. Sorry, I got real for a sec.
No, it's true.
Get back to the fun. Let's get here what you guys came here for. I almost lost my point where I was going there because I went off on like a but seriously, you guys need to hear it from everywhere. So thank you. What were we talking about, Scott?
Early
we were talking
releases.
about
Early releases.
Oh, early releases. Yeah, this is not any of that. Like that is all. Like, there's necessary work being done. But I've been really impressed with is that there are entertainers and people in the entertainment industry who are working and doing their part, content creators and all that. I've even seen our friends Star Wars. I'm not like at all comparing us to like Disney or Josh Gad or any professional person whatsoever. But just like in our little Star Wars Twitter community, I've seen it. But mainly to see it in like big time, like Hollywood, to see it in like the music industry, people like Ben Gibbard of I almost said Fall Out Boy. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Of Death Cab for Cutie is doing a concert every night. Yeah, it's like doing like requests.
Yeah.
And like Josh Gad is reading stories to families.
And Gal Gadot is singing Imagine, and everyone just loved it. And it was enthralled.
It's going crazy.
It was beautiful.
Right. And there's
we should do that, Jerry. We should do a singing Imagine.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, I don't know if like people would quite be as enthralled and entertained. Although I'm only a step below Gal Gadot, I've been told, in looks. So we'll
just
see.
A step.
Just a step. It's the beard.
It's
coming back. It's coming back.
It is.
I'm getting a quarantine beard. I'm not even quarantined, and I'm getting a quarantine beard. But just I don't know about you, Scotty. But what do you think about this? Like, I'm sorry. Again, true Bombadcast fashion. We're going on, guys. We have no show notes tonight. This is truly. I'm gonna let you. But we have thrown the Praetorian Guard light whip into the curtain. It is set aflame because we basically made it of we made it out of match paper, or whatever, like rice paper, and so it is just like all aflame.
Well,
so the curtain's coming down. No notes. Stream of consciousness, which you probably are like, they have notes. Yeah, we do most of the time. But here we go.
To quiet up my co-host.
Like, what do you think about all this, though? Go ahead. Sorry. Let me finish. No, I was just kidding. Go ahead. That's a deep cut right there. You got to go watch. You got to go follow us on Twitter, and you got to go watch our live stream. So,
okay.
There you go.
So my co-host is long-winded. He's taking a breath. Finally, I'm impressed.
Shutting up, sir.
No. In all seriousness, it has been super interesting to see how the entertainment business has like unfolded. Like one thing I will say I find fascinating. If you look right now on the Switch's virtual shop, the only system I have is a Nintendo Switch. The only new system I have is a Switch. If you look at their virtual shop, whatever they call it, their shop thing, most games right now are like 50 to 75% off. Like entertainment industry has really taken advantage of people being bound to their homes, which I respect. They're not doing it in a stealing kind of way. They're doing it in a giving way, which is like the Rise of Skywalker released early. Frozen 2 literally coming out on Blu-ray like 2 weeks ago to then being on Disney Plus and then Onward coming out.
It's available now. Like we almost bought it you're listening to this Friday. We're recording Sunday. We almost bought it, but it is going to be on Disney Plus April 3rd.
Literally. Like 2 weeks.
That is unprecedented.
Well, also one thing, and you gotta think how cool it is with digital media is you're able to do that. It's simple. And other movies that have now postponed their releases a year, it's so weird. Like all these, it's like the opposite reactions for some industries, obviously.
Right.
And like the entertainment industry, like you mentioned, I know a lot of people that went live this past week. And if you go through Instagram right now, everyone's live. Like all the celebrities you follow, everyone's live doing whatever they can do to be entertained themselves and to entertain. Well, so,
to help people pass the hours and stuff.
Yes.
Like you said, it's the most giving thing I've ever seen come out of this, and it's really kind of cool. It's like
beautiful.
All right, we got to be trapped. But we can still be connected. And it's almost kind of amazing that we got this technology before we had another.
Yes.
They're calling this almost like when Spanish flu kind of ravaged the country back in the, 1800s?
Yeah, 1918. Oh, no, I don't remember the exact date. But
it was like, the early 1900s or something. But
it kind of goes back into saying,
crazy.
Though, this idea of like, this is not just a state issue. Like I'm used to this with hurricanes and everything. Like your state shuts down and that's it. But right now the whole world's going through it, and it's such an interesting experience because not only are these huge people doing it, but also small communities of people. Like I went live on last Saturday.
Which was amazing, by the way. I love that. Go check it out.
I had 40 people join live, which is very unusual, but Jason Ward was kind enough to retweet it. We had a bunch of people retweet it, and it just drove more people viewing, and we had more subs after that. More people followed the Bombadcast's Twitter page. It was just like an exciting experience because it was literally a 33-minute just live stream of me making an analysis of the THX box set interviews with Leonard Maltin. So it was just nothing. It was something on I could do this. I took a shower. I'm I need to look good. And no, I actually didn't take a shower. I just put a hat on. It was so laid back, and I just did it. And I was Rez was in the chat. A bunch of people were in the chat. It was awesome. But no, with that being said...
Well, you guys are all awesome.
Oh, it's
Thank
amazing.
you again for being here. So.
It was amazing. And with that being said, though, kind of back to the main topic at hand, the reason why we're discussing the Rise of Skywalker documentary is because they released it very unexpectedly almost 2 weeks ago on a Friday. And it not only dropped the movie, but the documentary dropped, I think, the next day, right, Jerry? Or was it the Sunday?
It all dropped together, man.
That was it. And
it was, it was kind of it was funny how it started. I don't know if we want to kind of talk about how, all of a sudden people were just you can get Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker's available on iTunes or something. And then they took it quickly off iTunes.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you think, real quick, do you think that was intentional?
I think.
They were thinking about it, or maybe they pulled the trigger too early?
I think the whole thing was intentional because why else would it release on a Friday when all schools were announced to postpone? Well, that was the one thing.
I guess I mean just the iTunes thing. Maybe they were we're gonna all drop tomorrow on Saturday.
Oh,
and stuff.
I don't know.
But because then Voodoo was not we're going all the way.
I don't know. It's one of those things that could have been a whole marketing scheme anyway.
Interesting.
But
Right.
with that being said, though, it was such an awesome moment because not only was it unexpected, but it was also just kind of made you aware of this situation might be a little more serious than we expect. And like getting this documentary, thankfully I have a great friend who I do this show with every week who let me watch his version of it, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still the old boomer that doesn't want to buy the digital version, then have to re-buy it again when it comes out on physical. But
I just have a problem.
Yeah, no, and I
because I'm still, you guys know, we're all 100% physical media here. So.
Oh no, and not only that, but like I understand trying to scratch that itch. You know what I mean? Because like it's been a struggle, and doing content is a new thing for me, and making content. Same for Jerry. And with that responsibility, we need to make sure we're up to date on everything we put out and everything we report on. And the first thing we're going to really kind of break down with this whole entire Rise of Skywalker home release is this amazing documentary that came with it. And I will be full disclosure here. I had just watched it, and I don't care what anyone says in regards to the Rise of Skywalker and what you thought of it. This documentary really showed the love and the passion that went into making this entire movie and finalizing this entire trilogy, because you can say what you want and have your cynical point of view, but if you truly weren't there, I don't think you really have a valid opinion on, I guess, the people not caring about making this, film. Honestly, like if you say JJ doesn't care, it isn't, obviously you're objectively wrong. I don't care what you say. Like that is so false. I mean, it is.
Careful throwing around the objective word. I get so I have like I don't know what you say. Like shock, like shell shock from like objectively. Like even this last week, I like shared an objectively right. Like people are still throwing that word around. It's insane.
I know.
I get what you're saying. Though.
I don't mean to, but
it's no. I know, but you're not wrong. I'm not saying like you can't be like, you can be objective or you're objectively right in that if you're saying that they don't get it and they don't care, if you're saying that they don't care, or even if they don't get it, that's like, well, that's not entirely true. If you didn't like what they did or you didn't agree the way they went,
100%.
Because let's face it, Star Wars is a big thing. It can be interpreted there. It's open to interpretation, and obviously, we found with the last two films, interpretation can go many different directions.
Of course,
for sure,
of course.
But I agree with you though. It's again, I don't want to like call anyone out or anything, but it's to say that. To look for like, see, they don't care, or like, look, that point to moments in things. It reeks of, and you're gonna hate this. It reeks of like people in a certain fan group, a militant fan group, who look at all of Ryan's quotes and completely twist them their way.
Well, and cynicism. It shows that the people are cynical enough to think that this movie is not cared with love, and the people in it did not care about it. I mean, like, I heard more from Michelle Rejwan in this documentary than I ever heard from her in previous interviews or documentaries, and like, I had a whole.
I think this is the first I've really watched with her in it too.
Yes,
she was amazing.
Well,
like, I loved her. She was such a good person, like such just an interesting person to listen to.
Yes, and then to finally hear the perspective of like assistant directors. We haven't seen that since the beginning documentary. The beginning documentary really painted that, like, how important is first and second director on a film, and like, I don't know, like the beauty of acknowledging special effects. I know that's what all documentaries do, but the Force Awakens one was just so heavy on nostalgia, and it was so forgettable. And then the Director and the Jedi was primarily the focus on Ryan and Ram, which is amazing. But like, the struggles of making a movie, and this one was just like the homage to being able to finalize this last chapter in the movie, and the inclusion of previous footage. And dude, the one part that got me stoked, that it gives me chills thinking about it now, and I just watched it, was the fact that they had an 8mm camera rolling, and they played and it was not. I could tell it was not a forced filtered thing.
Like
it was
filter,
seriously.
yeah.
They took a 8mm camera and filmed on the set of The Rise of Skywalker. And when you watch those shots, you don't even think of it being a new. You look at it and you're like, oh wait, that's The Rise of Skywalker. I thought that was the actual Emperor.
It trips me out the first couple. It tripped me out this
time.
time, like when I was like rewatching it too. It's just like, wait, that's JJ.
Yes.
And real quick, I will probably tweet about this after we record this.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see it before you listen. But Ella was awake while I was watching the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And she goes, JJ pops up on screen with his glasses and his beard, and she goes, "Daddy, look, it's you, Daddy, look."
Oh, that's so cute, man.
That was probably the best thing I'd heard all day, in my entire life. So there you go.
I have a very similar story.
Abrams, so.
Very similar.
Yeah.
We're watching the documentary with Katie's sister, and Katie's sister's like 22, so it's not much different. But we're watching it together, and JJ goes at one point and goes, "This is amazing. This is so great." He says something after they shoot a take, and Katie's sister looks at me and goes, "That's you. That's literally you." And I'm like, I guess you're right. That's
together
my
we
reaction.
Embody JJ Abrams and stuff. So in physicality and in spirit. So
well, I will say this too. Back to there's one moment when watching with Katie that really struck hit me in my heart was she goes, I love seeing all the women that worked on this, from the stunt woman Eunice. Is that her name? Was it Eunice?
Yes, do not even get me started on Eunice right now, because I'm going to go off on her because she's so good. So good.
Katie's I love seeing all the representation from the women that worked on this, from the the third unit or second unit director, and then you had you had Michelle Rajwan, of course. You see Kathleen Kennedy, and Kathleen Kennedy actually takes a back seat for this documentary. Usually she's
she's barely in it, she's got that selfie with Claude,
yes,
and stuff,
Well, there's only so many things that this documentary really just totally just captured the magic. It really did feel like the beginning, because it started with the first concepts of it, and then they showed it, and this is new. This is different for Star Wars. They showed it linearly, so they showed it as the movie progressed. Yeah. What things? Because obviously those things were not shot in that order. I mean, you know that, but the fact that they shot it, and I'm pretty sure JJ did say they try to shoot as linear as possible, which doesn't surprise me. But the fact that the documentary was written and made in a linear format to show from the opening shots on the Falcon to the very end shots on at the Lars homestead, it was just I don't know, it was so clever. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling, Jerry. This was just such a good documentary, and I love my special features. I really do love bonus features on a good DVD or Blu-ray.
It's so good, and I'm so glad. See, we were all bummed whenever we first saw that there were no deleted scenes.
Yeah,
which I'm still when are they going to show up? Because there have to be deleted scenes. There's stuff. In fact, there's stuff in the documentary that didn't end up in the film.
Yeah, there was.
But
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because mine's not.
Well,
important.
No. Let me finish. Go ahead. No, that's gonna be it, man. I'm sorry. I'm stealing whoever that guy on TikTok's thing is. That's a good bit, because it fits so well with us.
It does.
But no. Just and I'm not a conspiracy theorist that there's stuff that they're not talking about and stuff. I thought it was funny, that someone was talking, asked Matt Martin,
mm-hmm.
Matt Martin, what if something about extra footage, or when are they going to release the JJ cut or something? He's like, they actually just dropped it this last Saturday.
That's amazing.
That is solid. Very well done, sir. Very well done.
Oh man.
But you can. I think we're gonna get that, but just this documentary. Sorry, real quick, was. This that there was a feature-length documentary blew me away, because there wasn't a feature-length one on, at least I don't think it was feature-length on Force Awakens. I think it was just more like a 45-minute documentary or something. So.
Well, what I remember from the Force Awakens one, it was a lot of the creative process before the movie started, what most of the scenes meant to them, and then it was over. But this one was just... Directing the Jedi is still my favorite, and that might change over time.
It gets down to the nitty gritty, like until we get again like the beginning. What is it? The beginning, or like
best documentary.
What is it? Empire to Jedi, or I'm trying to think
Empire of Dreams.
Empire of Dreams, yeah. Like until we get like something of that like ilk. I don't know. I want like a big. I'm like now the Skywalker saga is complete. Let's get like a full.
Yeah, and we will.
We will. But this was just such a treat, and it was amazing. So
there's some things I want to touch base on. There's a couple of things that made me have a greater appreciation of the movie, specifically the motives and themes behind certain moments. I was a huge fan of the Pisana scenes. The fact that Rick Carter's a genius. There's a podcast out there, I forgot which pod it was. I think it might have been Film Assessment or maybe, and they had Rick Carter on to talk about The Rise of Skywalker, and like his philosophies are incredible. And the fact that the Pisana sequence was designed to be the happiest thing Rey's ever seen because she's had such a tragic life was genius.
Right.
Was genius. It was like
she was enjoying the moment, and to put it in the middle of like a desert.
Yes.
As well. Like she's used to the desert, but to see such happiness.
Yes.
It just, wow.
And how they filmed those moments.
That was a good decision.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I guess I will because hopefully you would have seen it. But they
full
go into
spoilers,
detail.
Man. If you haven't watched it, just like yeah.
Well, they go into huge detail dealing with like how the heck they filmed like the sequence dance. How they filmed that part for the Pisana of the Aki Aki, and like the babies that were hand puppets under the ground, like that. They spent so much time in Wadi Rum, it blew me away. And the fact that they even filmed the Tatooine sequence with what appeared to be Jordan as well was super smart, like the Lars Homestead. And like, we're so lucky that didn't leak. And like, there's just so many things that can be said about Pisana now that I never would have 100% overlooked. I didn't, not that I didn't like Pisana, but it was definitely one of those moments like, oh, this is pretty cool. But like,
yeah, it's a quick thing, like we're still like, that's in the beginning, that's in that beginning half of the movie where like, we're still like cinder block on the gas pedal.
Yes.
Like we're trying to get to Exegol. So
yes, I don't know. I really am a big fan of this documentary. I'm probably going to watch it again this week, but like there's so many things that can be said about little moments and like the ideas behind certain things. And the part that like destroyed me and had Katie and I crying was whenever, they're talking about Carrie and like, at first, I'm like, what? I'm probably not going to cry this time. I've cried too much about this. But, like, the more they went into detail about it, it's supposed to be her movie. And, JJ was, like, hugging Billy and was like, I wouldn't have done this if she wouldn't have let me. And I was like, just.
That was, all of that stuff was beautiful.
And Daisy was crying on set. Oh, my God.
And what about that, like, file footage, that interview with
Yes.
Carrie, back at, when she was like, I'm probably going to always be remembered after this.
Even when
she was
80.
talking about how, like, Scarlett O'Hara was always Scarlett O'Hara.
Uh-huh.
And she said, just the part that gets me there is the end where she's like, I'm probably going to be 85 years old. And you're like, you're Princess Leia or something. Like, I just can't remember the exact quote.
Yeah.
But just talking about being 85 and just like, it hits me. It hits me now.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
Like, I miss her so much.
But like it was, and
it's amazing. It's crazy.
You bring up a good point because that old footage included, because it was very unpredictable when they would throw it in there. Like all of a sudden you'd be watching this new shot of like Exegol, and all of a sudden you hear George, and like he just like goes into the rant about evil, and I'm like, whoa, like like,
and it's like the young George. It's like very like, we had
you are good at young George, by the way. That's the George you do best.
Thank you.
I noticed that.
And I heard you, older George. Older George is a little quieter, and
he's a little more grumpy. You got a little more grump to it.
Well, you gotta say, F those guys, and just put another to make Darth Vader say no. Just forget them. They're white slavers. Anyway, no, dude, I love that. My favorite cut of that, because I loved how they would do that, and they would like immediately parallel like a new shot from this movie with something. And my favorite one was when like Poe and Finn are in the cockpit of the Falcon and they're like going around, and then it cuts to that dude. It's like it cuts to like a New Hope.
Yeah.
Han Harrison and Mark and Alec and Peter all in the cockpit. But I love that it cuts to like you know it's immediately going to that, like it cuts to it, and then like you've got that dude, it shows them on hydraulics right now, and then like that dude just shaking the cockpit,
front of the cockpit.
And like I mean that was like, but I was like that's totally how they did it, man.
Yes,
just like shaking the cockpit, and I'm like, now when you watch A New Hope, it's gonna be like that's just some dude on the front, just like you know.
Oh,
and
man.
like my wife is funny. My wife or Allison was watching that part with me, and she's like, those guys must have like it must have been so hard to keep, because it's like where like Han's going like bounces too close to a store or a supermarket, you know, which is that was a great interaction, that whole thing. And she goes, I was like telling her like they thought this was gonna fail, and all that, and just to see all of that. It was so crazy. It's so crazy cutting back to those days. Who knew they had that much stuff on? Let's talk about that. Who knew they had so much stuff we hadn't seen from the making?
Well, I will say this.
Of those films back then.
Eric and I have talked about this, not about this documentary. I'm probably going to call him tomorrow night or tonight and talk to him about it too, because he's a big person. He loves archival footage. That's like one thing he's always loved, and we talk about that all the time. That and archived concept art. We both have a big fascination for that. Obviously, I'm the concept art, not guru, but I love it. I can sit there and talk about it for hours.
You're a connoisseur, if you will.
Honestly, I have all the prints that you can purchase legally. Yes, so I guess you would say I'm kind of a collector when it comes to that. I'm very proud of that. But with that being said, I can't wait for Phil Stozak's book, and also the idea of like still having archival footage that hasn't been used, like. There was some shots that I've seen in Empire Dreams, some shots that I saw on like a VHS documentary that they had back in the day of the making of Star Wars. But like, my God, it was so cool to see like the one where they had the fans getting interviewed outside of where Jabba's sail barge was. I was like,
that opening shot,
so new. So new. And then like to have all the shots of like them filming Empire Strikes Back, which Empire it's so weird. It's like, I don't know. The big thing is, Star Wars is going to be a failure, but all the A New Hope BTS has already been seen, and like you barely see any BTS, especially the one with who's the guy that made Yoda? Jesus.
Oh, Phil Tippett or no.
He was modeled after
Freeborn. Stuart Freeborn.
Yes. They had that interview I've never seen before. They're like, he's like, well, hopefully it's going to work, you know? He could steal the show. And I'm like, it gave me chills watching that, because I'm like, dude, you have no idea. And he looks just like Yoda. But I've never seen him be interviewed before. I've never seen that interview either. So it was just like, what? Where do they pull this from? Or like when they've got the BTS of Carrie and Jabba, and he's putting that guy's putting the goop on the Gamorrean guard's mouth, and then they cut to the shot of the lady putting the goop on the what's the snake's, whatever the snake thing was, the serpent's mouth as well.
Oh yeah,
I don't know its name.
Vus something.
Okay.
Not a Vulptex, maybe.
Maybe. No.
That Vulptex is the crystal fox.
Yes.
We'll
doesn't matter. But
sand snake.
Yes.
Serpent.
So good. But like, just think that was a practical effect. What the heck, man? That was totally like that.
And that's like a puppet from like. That's like the biggest puppet they've done since Jabba, right?
Yeah, it had to have been. They had people in the arm, that people in the leg, the like the spine and everything, operating the mouth, and God, that was good.
Did they say the whole thing was, because I've heard people complaining like, well, then they like completely painted over it in CG, but I don't think like they all of it was CG.
No, what they said was the goal of that puppet was to make it look as real as possible to get the best reaction out of the actor. And there's a part where JJ and Daisy are like, JJ was like, "Did you feel that? Were you in that moment?" And then Daisy's like, "I was really convinced it was there for a second. Like, it's so like frightening looking and hissing, and like its eyes were blinking.
Huge.
I'm like, oh my God, like that's got to be so surreal. I don't know. I thought the puppetry was great with Babu Frick and the actress that played Babu Frick. Oh my goodness, it was amazing, man.
Right.
I really have nothing. I mean, I have nothing to say bad about any documentary, but like, Lord, and it just gave more depth to the story too. I think. Like, wouldn't you agree? Like Chris Terrio getting the chance to talk. Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Well, and I mean, it kind of goes to the things that people are like people are really trying to make Terrio and JJ look like clowns.
Yeah.
And stuff who don't get it. But I could see it in Terrio. Like he likes, look, we're not all the same ilk of fan.
No.
We like different things about Star Wars. That's why it's as big as it is. But to say that Terrio doesn't know what he's talking about, I don't agree with it. I just don't agree with it. The dude has so much love, and I mean, I don't know how you can watch this documentary and not see the love and the care that was put into it, because this is fluffier. This is a fluffier documentary than Director and the Jedi.
Not as raw,
but it's because it's about the Skywalker legacy, and it's not like completely like we're gonna completely hide everything from you. I think it gets into some good stuff, but it's just more like this is we are like you said earlier. We're trying to end this legacy of these characters, the Skywalker characters.
Yeah, that
were started. It is the name says it all. It's the Skywalker legacy.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. It is what it needs to be. And so, but yeah, I'm with you. Like there's 100% so much love, and I was surprised because I had seen so many people talking about how there's no prequel mentions, or they didn't. Really see much.
There was shots,
but like there was so much. And I love that me and JJ do think the same when we're like that line from Palpatine, like
so important. Pathway to dark sides, many abilities.
As a pathway to many abilities, some consider to be unnatural.
Yeah,
it's like I'm like, why is that such a cheat? Like, why are you all so mad that he like hooked onto that? I don't know. I kind of love in the end too. And you haven't I don't think you've listened at this point to any of the audiobook or not, have you?
No, not yet. I plan on doing that throughout this week, and then we can talk about it maybe in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about it in the next couple episodes or something. But just the things with Palpatine, how he is alive with. Well, they talk about it in the documentary. It's a combination of science,
and magic. That's exactly what he said.
Bad science and dark magic. Obsessed with cheating death.
Yeah.
It goes really in depth into that in the novel, by the way, and so. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. But what do you think go ahead. What do you think about that stuff?
The thematic parts, too, that Chris Terrio brings up, the fact that, there is a dyad, and how they explored Joseph Campbell's concept of a dyad. I wrote down this one quote that, referred to Rey and Kylo as characters, and how they were set up in The Force Awakens versus how they're paid off now, and how great it was to have Ryan give them that Force bond, which gave them so much more layers as a relationship, or as a dual protagonist, or a dual pro and antagonist. And there was one thing that Terrio said that I wrote down. It says, you understand from a point of view of fate. You understand from a point of view of fate, yet fate has made them enemies. Because you got to think, one's a Skywalker and one is a Palpatine, and
right.
I never thought about the entire saga being a battle between Palpatines and Skywalkers, which was a different perspective, and it was something that actually gives me more appreciation for the prequels, the originals, and then now rewatching the sequel trilogy, which I plan on doing in the next couple of weeks, to sit there and rewatch each one of them and see them in different lights, because I haven't done that since the Bombad build-up. But
right.
Honestly, I mean, seriously, that battle has now always been there, and I guess it's something that some people don't like, and I understand your discourse about it. I really do, because at first I was pretty jarred by it, but now accepting it and thinking about the Palpatines and the Skywalkers then re-met back up in the same exact place they had their last fate. The throne room,
the throne room.
Yeah. Oh my God, that then after that moment, the tables have turned. Vader. I'm sorry. Kylo Ren was redeemed, but he didn't have to die to be redeemed, which was a huge thing because Vader was redeemed, but he had to die. You know what I mean? Like die immediately after being redeemed, because then you get to see a whole new character with Ben, you know, and how even Michelle Rejwan says, "I wish we could have spent more time with Ben," and they acknowledge that. But that's the point of Ben, is that you don't get the chance to do it because he was never that character. Unfortunately, he was at one point, and he wasn't for a while. The times we got to see him, he was not Ben.
Well, it's like he was. It's almost like, to me, it's almost like he's 100% his father's son.
Yes.
Because you look in Solo, hashtag make Solo 2 happen.
Yes.
And it's like Han is like in that movie, and you can kind of see it. He kind of is better at it when we see him in A New Hope, when we catch back up to him. But he's like, I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad person. When deep down, this person has a good heart. Like they have a good 100%. Heart. They've been like Kylo, and again, you're going to get into it, and it gets really in depth into it in the novelization. I'm really excited for you to get into it.
I can't wait.
He was so gaslit. He was gaslit by Palps and like all this stuff, just like basically made to think certain things that weren't true.
Yep.
And it's
kinda
just
like
whenever that facade falls, that's why it's such a like the moment with Leia in the movie is we're just going to end up talking about Rise of Skywalker and stuff. But I mean, it's necessary, I think, to talk about this. It's just like, that's why it's so like Leia sees her moment and like, boom, she takes her moment and the facade immediately falls and he's like, wow, everything I was told was a lie. And it's just... Sorry, my cat's trying to kiss me as we speak.
Very cute. Very cute.
He needs a little bit of love. Yeah, he's like trying to. He's like
Ben.
Will you stop talking and please give me some love?
Well, to kind of go into what you're saying too, because there's a lot of this movie that obviously needs to be addressed, and the documentary does address a lot of it. There's some things that go unaddressed in the documentary. The fact that we don't get the full throne room BTS, which would have been amazing, I'd imagine. We don't get the returning cast doing the Liam Neeson coming and doing his recordings, which I would have thought we would have got something like that. Maybe later. Maybe later. Oh
man, see all of them in the studio. Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we are seeing stuff from the
obviously
from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Like, just think, 40 years from now, guys, we're going to be seeing some crazy stuff. So
I mean, there's a lot to be said about that too, and I'm fine with it. Honestly, it is upsetting, and there were some scenes that they did not show. Like there was one where like it was a great shot of following General Pride dealing with like the chaos that was happening on his ship. That was like a single take, and it was like him moving across the bridge, which would have been really cool to see. And there was one shot that they did not utilize, which I believe was a. You know, the one thing I will say, the only thing I'm disappointed about now seeing this BTS role is the lack of Lieutenant Connix and the lack of Beaumont and Rose. Honestly, like they obviously had filmed a ton of stuff for them, and they really did take the back burner, where I will stand behind and say that was kind of messed up. Frankly, no,
I am glad because that's what I wanted to bring up too. I'm talking about the things that they didn't really address. But one thing, Kelly deserved to have more screen time.
Yep.
And I think it could be said that Billy, I would have loved for her to have even more screen time because she had just about as much as she did in Force Awakens.
Yep.
It felt like I mean, she had a lot in Force Awakens. Well, okay, maybe I'm thinking of she had more in Last Jedi.
TLJ had a ton of stuff.
Yeah, but I think I still am with you there too. Because like I 100% am like they did them dirty a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
I think Kelly for sure should have been like more front and center. She had some good stuff, but I will say I'm really glad that it seemed like they had a blast.
Oh my God, you can tell.
Set. And like that scene where they're talking to Billy and she's talking about Kelly and Kelly just comes up behind her and hugs her. Like it warms your heart, man.
Well,
like I love that they're like, who cares? Like I wish we could have gotten more, but to see that that relationship is there.
Yes.
And that is beautiful.
Well,
I love that.
I honestly think probably the best role to ever play in a Star Wars movie would be a supporting character, because you're still there, you still got scenes, but you're not doing the super intense part. Like, you show up to set and you get to be there and you get to have your lines and have your moment, and then you kind of get to take the back burner for a second, which, you know, the one thing I will say is every character or person in this film had the opportunity to reflect on them being in a Star Wars movie. And John Boyega mentioned that, and Oscar did, and Kathleen Kennedy. The part that like made me tear up was when Kathleen looks around and looks at the Tanta V4 and she's like, I'm just gonna miss this. She's like, I hate when they break down a set. That's the one part of my job that I don't like, is having them break down these beautiful and deconstruct these incredible sets. And the fact that they rebuilt the whole thing was wild. Dog, that set was huge, man.
Yeah. Well, and what they should do with that stuff is they should like turn them into affordable housing for people, dude, and but it's, or like have like Star Wars fans who want to live in a Star Wars set, like, and they have to give their house to a homeless person or something, you know? Because I would almost do it in a heartbeat. Like, all right, Allison and Ella, we're gonna go live in the Tanta V4 now. Well, but just like make them to code and stuff and all that, and then I'll just park the Tanta V4 in my neighborhood.
Could you imagine though if they had just rebuilt that set at Celebration, like in one area, and you can just walk around and take pictures of it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like I don't know how logistically that would be possible, and I'm sure they would fall apart after a little while. But like the concept of like the part where they built the 300-foot Star Destroyer for the horses to run across it, and for, you know, them to film all those scenes on that Star Destroyer was freaking insane, Gerald.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, it was insanity.
The sets were so well done, and that's the thing. I liked almost more the directing the Jedi kind of showed the rawness of having to build a set. We've got 150 sets and only 120 days to shoot. You know, that was like one of the big lines from that documentary. But this one, it's just like, here's a huge set. Let's really take a moment and appreciate it. And like, they showed all different angles of the set, how they built the set. The John Williams part, dog, we haven't bring that part up yet. Oh my God.
Oh, dude.
With the homages. Oh.
Well, and him, that part was amazing. And just like him talking to Daisy and stuff, like sitting on the couch, like showing her
that made me cry.
Her final piece of music. And I was telling Allison, I was like, John Williams has the most adorable crush on Rey and Daisy Ridley. And it's funny, like in this day and age where it's like that sometimes can come across weird. It's so pure. It's almost like Knives Out with Marta and Harlan Thrombey. Mm-hmm. But I love that. It's beautiful. They're just like, he's just like a little schoolboy crush. Just like, oh, I just think she's wonderful and stuff. It's like, you're the most adorable human being ever, and you're also, as JJ calls him, a supernatural genius. Well, which is a great line. That was the part I loved. Whenever he, how else do you describe him?
He was someone how humble John Williams is and how much humility he has. And he's like, he does this whole entire incredible orchestral score, and he, like, the recording's already done. He turns around and is like, what'd you think of that? Was that good? It's like, yes, it was good. Like, he didn't.
You freaking wrote the Star Wars theme. Like,
it's unreal. And like, for him to have his last moment and to be in his only acting credit, that's it's just amazing.
Well, it's like, how has no one thought of that before? I loved that.
He probably denied it.
JJ and then we're like, what's that?
He probably denied. He was so humble. He probably denied it. He probably didn't want to be
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like,
the fact that they made him,
maybe it was this. This was like, well, this is the last one and stuff. And I don't know if you got to watch. You probably haven't got to watch any more stuff. But I watched the Maestro.
Yeah, how was it?
Little featurette. And at the end of that, he's like, I hope they keep going. I hope they go on and stuff. And I hope that it continues, because I wouldn't mind that at all.
God,
and it's just like, I love that man, and he's a treasure. And please use social distancing when being around John Williams, because he's a treasure. Just like that video with Mel Brooks' son and Mel Brooks and like precious. Dick Van Dyke and all those guys. Like keep all those guys, like lock them in like a vault or something. Yes. Like on Fallout, but much
nicer,
much nicer, less deathy.
I'm trying to think of like the other segments that really got to me, and that was really one of them. That was a huge one. But like just the whole feel of the documentary was so well paced, and the inclusion of old footage really did do something to me that I haven't seen in a Star Wars documentary before. Like it wasn't just old footage; it was like the interviews on interviews, which was so well done. Mark Hamill's inclusion, him walking around looking at the props department, and like his moment that he has with the X-Wing made me cry too. Did you have any moments that made you cry that we haven't mentioned yet? Because there was 3 parts that like really brought it out in me, and it was beautiful.
Right. It's been a while since I've watched the entire documentary. I only got to watch half of it before we started tonight, just with everything going on. But the Carrie part still gets me.
Yeah.
Just that interview with her back in the 80s where she's like talking about Carrie Fisher. Well, she's talking about Princess Leia, and like she doesn't care. She doesn't worry about anything. She's like, let's go into the asteroid storm. Who cares about my hair? Yeah. And she's like, I wish I had that. Like, let's walk through traffic. It's okay. There's a sequel. I'll be okay. And I'm like, no one, unless you're like a diehard Star Wars fan like us, you don't get how much you miss Carrie Fisher.
No.
Because some people are like, it's almost like a joke to some people. It's like, whoa, what, you didn't know her, but like, yeah, we didn't know her really, but just that she was a big part of everyone's childhood.
Of course.
And that she was just a personality. She was like a force of nature.
She was.
Especially later in life, and just such a firecracker, like in the best way, like tell you how it is. And I just miss that energy.
Me too.
And I was thinking about something today. Like I was thinking what it would be like if Carrie was alive during all of this like Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker nonsense. And like I don't know, I had like a controversial thought where I'm almost glad that she's not
dealing with it.
She doesn't have to go through it. She doesn't have to deal with it. But I also think that she would completely be wrecking house. But the thing is that every single person who of every opinion thinks that she'd be on their side. So it would be interesting to find out what side she fell on. So and honestly, I would be fine whatever side she fell on. Honestly, because Carrie could make it work no matter what she said.
It's the whole concept of like, what could this movie have been without her? And the fact that they wrote it well enough to keep her in it was so well done. And like how they did the dailies and how they did the initial concept of it. Like they had her say a line in the footage. They had a concept art of Rose next to her. Then they had the other shot they would switch to with I keep wanting to say Greg Grunberg, but Snap Wexley. And like it's just so. Man, it I don't care what anyone says. Like I'm gonna say it again. They really poured so much love into this, the making of this movie, and like JJ.
They wanted to make it work.
Well, with JJ tearing up when she said the Rey Skywalker moment, and I was like, oh, and she had a tear go down her eye. I'm like, Jesus, like that. They just shot and did everything so well. It's almost frustrating because like. I understand people not liking the movie. I really do respect it, but like, I don't understand people, hating on, the people who made it, because obviously there was no hate involved with the creation of this this whole from first day to last day,
Yeah. It's 100%. You're experiencing what I experienced, unfortunately, back in the day with the prequels. Where like it was just like because people are like crapping on all this stuff, making it seem like it's. And I'm no offense to you if you like the Transformers movies, but they're like making it seem like it's. Well, you know what? No. I'm gonna say like they're making fun of it like it's freaking Sharknado 5.
Yep.
And it's like this, you're like, but you really think it's this bad? Like, I really like this, and it's almost like they almost make you feel like, am I dumb?
Yeah,
am I whatever? And that's wrong. That's wrong, because it's like, like it's like trying to have a conversation with someone of, again, another ilk after Last Jedi came out, and like I've had this. I can't tell you how many times someone's told me this. It's like, it's okay for you to like crappy movies and stuff. You just got to admit that it's bad, like that it's objectively bad. It's like, no, I don't have to. Like, you're wrong. You're objectively wrong.
Yeah.
It does something to you where it's like, again, I don't wish this on anybody, but whenever I was a kid, and I went to see like all of the prequels and stuff, and then I started working at the theater, and like everyone was like, oh yeah, all this Jar Jar sucks and this sucks, and I was like, like I'll like, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess Jar Jar is more for the kids, but it makes you feel like you have to like agree with someone.
I agree. 100%.
In order for them to listen to you, and that's not right.
No.
Like, we should be able to have these conversations, and it's not a new thing. Unfortunately, it's exacerbated by kind of just the voice that we have these days. But it's just as a society, it's exacerbated behind a keyboard. But like, it just, you can't. I don't know what I'm trying. You get what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, and I will say this one thing this movie did do, and this documentary did do, is help me accept the challenge that was The Rise of Skywalker. And I had no trepidation or any issue when I first watched it. But like,
right.
I kind of take things as they are and try to look at them from the best angle I can and appreciate them. And Rise of Skywalker, literally upon instant first watch, was like, wow, that was amazing. Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Force Awakens was like, man, that was good, okay? And then The Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, man, they did everything they could, and I was not upset. Truly. Not upset about anything they did in the movies. Yeah. But it did take some time to settle in me and for me to make any judgments. But after watching this, and obviously after listening to the audiobook, like you've told me, I'm going to end up having a crazy appreciation for everything involved with this. I mean,
you're gonna bawl your frickin' eyes out, Scotty. When
Perfect.
you listen to that, I'm just telling you right now, you're gonna be probably crying the entire time.
Well,
because I almost was. Like,
see,
you are in their heads in
yes.
the best places, in every place you want to be inside the character's head. Like Leia, Ben, even Palpatine and Rey. Like,
it's awesome.
It's just, I cannot wait for you to like finish that. So,
well,
anyway, continue.
To kind of round out this discussion a little bit, it's just like there's so many things that like was a challenge for them to do, and like the fact that they made they went from having Rey being a no one in The Rise of Skywalker, I'm sorry, in The Force Awakens, but like they kind of still play to that, because what's even more of a challenge for these characters, to find out that she's not a no one, but she's not only she not only feels like a no one, but she is actually the granddaughter of the most evil person in the galaxy. Is such a challenging thing to have to put to paper, number one, but having to convey to the audience, number two, and then having to accept as a viewer is another huge thing. And like, I feel that I accepted the challenge, and I know some people haven't. That's okay. You don't have to. It's a movie. But like, I have now gone back and like really rethought about their interactions, Kylo and Rey's interactions, and I really went back and rethought about the idea of Vader and Palpatine being almost at odds ends, but having Vader having to succumb to him in the Revenge of the Sith because of he wanted to cheat life and he wanted to cheat death, and then later. Yeah. His grandchild does cheat death and saves the one that he loves. Like, it's just like, oh my God. It's just, the more I sit on it, the more they did wrap up an entire saga of love and friendship and found family. And I don't know. I'm really going on a rant right here, but I've grown great appreciation more for this movie with more content being dropped. I'm sure when the Art of the Rise of Skywalker comes out, I'm going to be the first to get that, and I cannot wait to read through that whole thing in one night. The same with the book. I plan on like listening to 2 hours a day if I can, because it's just like I I can't get enough of it, honestly. And I can't wait to watch when we get off the phone. I'm going to watch the special features too. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It really is so beautiful. But
it's amazing. Yeah. It is so good. And again, just if I had to like real quick like sum up some of my highlights from the whole thing, it's just the archival footage is
incredible,
second to none. It is, and I think that like they showed that scene of the rehearsal with Harrison and Mark and Alec and Peter.
Yeah.
At Celebration, like that was part of that reel they showed that like we missed at first, and they brought it back before the movie came out in December. But that I think is my favorite behind the scenes, like just scene ever. Yeah. Like I love that whole thing is just amazing. I mean, the part with the people at the fence at the beginning for Return of the Jedi is great too.
So cool.
But there's so much cool archival footage. But I'd say that. And just seeing their process with Leia, what they were thinking with Leia, and just all of the nods to like the prequels were a part of this, and like they really did think about their stuff. And Terrio, dude, had a copy of Aftermath.
He had
on his book on his desk.
Well, it looked like
one of them was
Aftermath.
Like a Legends book.
Yes.
One of them was a Legends book because they still pull things from Legends, guys.
Yes.
That Legends is not completely defunct. They're pulling the cool stuff out, but like, sorry, I'm going on a rant. but like, dude, I loved that Aftermath was there because that's the big series. Like, go back and listen to that trilogy or read that trilogy because that's like the beginnings of Palpatine coming back and like the plan and contingency and the beginning of the First Order. If you don't want to do all of them, I would recommend all three. Just to get the characters and really, but like go for Aftermath, Empire's End. But dude, I don't know, man. That dude loves Star Wars. You can tell. Yeah, and you can tell he loves Star Wars.
Maybe I want to almost get in touch with his agent and have him on this show because like I would love.
Let's try to get him on.
Well, I would love to hear way more about the process behind it because like.
Right.
Honest to God, like anytime he showed up, I was just so enthralled because like he had to, I mean, JJ of course co-wrote it, but like I'd imagine Terrio really was the one to like develop every small thematic aspect of like what do we want to do? And Rick Carter too. Obviously Rick Carter had a huge chunk of production design is not what everyone thinks it is. Everyone thinks, he's the one that kind of comes in and like figures out like how they're going to manage all this. No. He's the one that sees the bigger picture and what is going to be brought out in these bigger moments. Like Rey on Pisana. I never thought about that connection. Ever thought about that.
Yeah,
and the fact that
I forgot about that too, yeah.
Well, the Star Destroyer sequence with the ore box was like a play on the Endor. Like, we're going to use natural things to take over the mechanical, overlords. Like that was genius because it's a play on Endor, but not quite. It's like, God, I could talk about this movie.
It's the spirit. Ooh. It's the spirit without being a direct reference.
Yes, and
that's important.
Well, you know what? I really always wanted to take a deep dive on Joseph Campbell. I haven't given myself the chance to do it. Maybe during this quarantine I will. But like. Just hearing like they went through and that's how they learned the word dyad, and that's what made that relationship so much better. Because if you watch The Force Awakens, I always saw it as this, and this is maybe my point of view, but The Force Awakens is Finn's movie as much as it is Harrison's movie, and they kind of parallel. Rey's movie is Kylo Ren's movie is The Last Jedi, which kind of parallels Luke, both being kind of an abandonment kind of theme. And then you go into The Rise of Skywalker, which is primarily Leia's movie, and it is Rey's movie. So, like, you can kind of make all these associations, and, like, I think the most important thing to get out of The Rise of Skywalker is the fact that the balance does happen. And like they said, what is the balance, And I think J.J. Terrio was like, well, the balance always changes, It could be balanced right now, but later it won't be balanced. But as of right now, Rey has to find her own balance. She has to find the balance.
Victory for all time is like not what they're like. It's like victory. We've got to correct this,
Oh, one more thing.
It's a constant battle.
Yes. we failed to mention this. I'm sorry, we're kind of in our recap, but I got to bring up the Death Star wreckage was another really cool BTS moment where they had where they like found the original model.
I love that breakdown.
Oh god, it was good, and they broke down the fight, how it was supposed to be is like the water pouring over, as organic and epic as possible on the destroyed Death Star. I thought that was beautiful, but and
I was always bugged by like the proportions of the throne room because they go in. I'm like, wait, wasn't there like a platform she went up to? And I'm like, I remember like trying to watch for the door in Return of the Jedi, but they talked about how like the platform had collapsed. Yeah, and I was like, okay, I feel better about this now.
Me too.
It's a weird thing, but I was like, it's that and the X-wing. Having the wing that Luke used for the door was a thing, which is addressed in the audiobook, kind of. Even though we're gonna have to have a talk about that book. Man. That might have to be like maybe not the next episode. Maybe guys, you'll get some special shorter episodes or not so short from me and Scotty, like bonus episodes during all this time. Where we're gonna try to work with all our other content creators to get some stuff out for you guys to keep yourselves. Entertained.
Well, one thing I will say is expect an episode from me in the shower. That's a concept we're throwing around right now. I'm going to see if I can rig that up to where I can take a nice shower and just go on a little bit of a rant, Talk Star Wars would be a weird thing, but hey, it could totally be done. But no, with that being said, to kind of close this conversation, on a scale from like, it's a stupid scale, on a scale from The Force Awakens, to the beginning to like where does this lie on your documentaries, like your Star Wars documentaries, because there's like 5 really good ones, but where does this one really lie so far? Because you gotta wait for nostalgia to kick in too in 5 years from now, and you're like, let's go back to the good old times before the Mando documentary and the Rebels documentary.
Right. Before Rosario Dawson came in as
here we go
as Ahsoka Tano and
whole
stuff,
different day. We will make that a whole episode. Yeah. Hopefully by the end of Clone Wars, we will talk about that. That'll be addressed.
Dude, I gotta talk about some of that Ahsoka stuff too because it was so good to see her. But anyway, I digress. I would have to say this has got to be like 3 or 4, maybe 2 even. For me, I don't know. I love the beginning's a great one.
God, it's such a good one.
And I think the director and the Jedi it's hard because they're all so good. They're all like 2s and they're all like 1s and 2s, 3s.
You're right.
It's like hard to like number them.
I guess instead of numbering them, maybe just like where in your heart does this like really fit? Do you think it was a good enough documentary for it to be a part of the DVD or the Blu-ray release? Like I really do think it was great. There was 2 things I wish it would have been included, but that's about it. I mean, they definitely addressed the Skywalker homestead, which was a huge one, which I was so afraid they just like, and we did that and that was it. You know what I mean? But they
right.
I really wish
they spent a little bit of time there. Yeah,
they
we didn't talk about that. Well, real quick, one thing that I thought, the one thing that blew my mind in the documentary was that frickin' sandcrawler.
Oh my god!
Was a miniature.
So
it blew my effing mind.
So
my ever-loving mind was just like 100%. I was like, it broke my brain, Scott.
Well, they said in the doc, they said
that
like
really
we wanted
there?
to truly pay an homage to the original that came before it, and they wanted to like shoot a miniature. Have the extras as Jawas, and there were little kids that played Jawas too, which was so sick. And then they had
awesome.
Then they had the
child labor. Whoop.
Well, the fact that they filmed one part and must have been Wadi Rum, and the other part then in Pinewood was just like. Truly, I don't think they did this. They filmed it in Tunisia, but the other, the actual large homestead, which you can visit, I believe, is somewhere in Iran, maybe. But still, the idea of it,
Tunisia.
like,
it's in
Tunisia as well. But like, I'm so glad they didn't go back because that would have leaked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to your point, Jerry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. But to your point, that miniature part was so wicked cool. So cool.
I mean, that was just like a random thing I was throwing in because like I couldn't believe that. That shot looks so beautiful.
It does.
The Falcons like flying back over, man.
That forced perspective.
I'm like, it broke my brain. I'm like, it's amazing the techniques that they created back in the 70s.
That they're still implementing.
That still look amazing.
God.
Like, what the heck is going on, man? Like, anyway. But I don't know, man. I'd say this was a pleasant surprise. Like it was,
dude.
It's
that's
up
the
there.
best way to
It's
say it. Damn, that was a good way to phrase it. Because I felt the same way. Because I had heard it was good. Of course, all of our Star Wars people on Twitter were like, it's great, I love it, I cried. And I'm like, I'm going into it, I'm like, I probably will get an emotional reaction. But like,
right.
I don't know. JJ did with The Force Awakens, the movie itself, you know, we want real sets, practical effects. But it seemed like this movie, the Last Jedi was the same way. But it seemed like this movie, they finally figured it out. Like, with the largeness of the sets to make things look so much more realistic. I just was... Yeah. That's the one thing that really got me was watching them like, oh my God, they really did go to Wadi Rum, had 450 extras in costume with like animatronic eyes and like, what? Oh.
Well, and just the fact that they built Kajimi City and stuff too, basically. Like they built like a couple of, like what in the world is going on, you know?
It's one of those things that like, I think it probably was definitely the biggest production of all the Star Wars movies. And I know that TLJ had a huge one, but like the sets they built for this one was just astounding, you know? And that's the one thing, you know, this might be, everyone's like, oh, I wish Star Wars was more like Marvel, had all these, you know, huge releases and moments, but like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there's, not that I've seen, but like, I don't think the set thing is something that the Marvel movies have an advantage on Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, at least not from the BTS footage I've ever seen of a Marvel film, but like, you generally don't get anything like that, you know? Like, there's that one, I mean, actually, there's none that I can think of, you know? Where everyone's like, oh, I want Star Wars more like Marvel, but like, those are like, of course, CGI, and so is Star Wars, but like the Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and The Force Awakens, like, really did a number on sets, and I'm extremely thankful for that because I love looking at that footage.
Absolutely, man. It was amazing, and again, such a pleasant surprise that we got this from these bonus features that we thought were going to be sparse.
Yeah, definitely.
Just thanks, JJ. Thank you, JJ. For giving that.
Well, thank you for starting it and ending it because he could have very well said no. Really?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure the paycheck made him say yes, but still at the same time, like at the Force Awakens, you can tell
he does love it. I mean, he may not be like a Terrio and like diving into all the books. A canon junkie, He's not a canon junkie, but he's a Scotty. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I mean, but like, you know what I mean? No, he's like more than a casual fan. He's like the guys I talk to at work who really like Star Wars, but they're like, I just saw Rise of Skywalker like last week, you know.
And he understands the themes of it. He does, and he's
a good filmmaker. He knows how to make blockbuster films.
Yes, he did
100%. There's a reason why people were thinking he's going to be like and could still be the modern Steven Spielberg, which
I think
Spielberg's still the modern Steven Spielberg almost.
But no, Jerry, great little recap because that's not enough. Not enough people are saying it right now. Thank you, JJ. Seriously,
right.
Thank
you, JJ. Thank you, Ryan. Back. Thank you, George.
Well, he brought it back and he wrapped it up. JJ brought it back and he wrapped it up, which is such a hard thing to do, especially with a middle that was indeed very twisty. You know, it was a difficult thing to have to jump back in and do.
The Knives Out of Star Wars films.
Yes,
and still my fave.
But anyway, I love this documentary. I really can't wait to keep rewatching it, and hopefully we'll get a commentary from him soon. Honestly, what I might end up doing this week is putting the prequels on in the background and listening to the commentary from like Ben Burt and everyone. But that's a whole different story. We'll get to commentaries another while from now. But with that being said, Jerry, what we got going on in the world of Bombad right now, so the good people can keep listening?
Well, what's next week, Scotty. Well, next week we're going to be talking about the finale of our Wonderful Weirdos tournament, and we could have special guests with us.
Possibly.
We got to see.
It's Warwick Davis. No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. No, I mean, we've already had. We had Hello Greedo on last week, so the sky's the limit, basically. Yes. Because if you're listening, Greedo, you're just one step below Rob Treadrow. But anyway, No, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for voting. Share those polls, like share that stuff around. You know, there's people are looking for stuff to do at this time. So share it, and sharing is caring.
Definitely,
and it really helps
100%.
us as well. So we want to keep making content for you guys, and you might be hearing more announcements in the coming weeks, depending on how long it takes this thing to shake out, of different content from me and Scotty, from the Bombadcast in general. And who knows, we might be collaborating with other creators as well on certain things. So we'll see.
Definitely.
But, what do you got?
There's a lot in the future, especially with this whole quarantine stuff going down. Hopefully you'll get some more content from us. We'd imagine we're trying to work on everything right now, because I'm out of school until April 13th. That's when I go back, and that might even be pushed back later. We'll see. But with that being said,
recording, I'm still working. Yeah, but they're trying to lock down Michigan and Twitter. So we'll see. Hey, they got Sonic to be. They got them to change Sonic,
which was a great movie, like, by the way. Game. I actually really liked it.
I still haven't seen it, honestly. But
that should be dropping
who knows?
soon.
The power of the internet, man. The power of the internet.
But with that being said, you will get more content more than likely at some point this week, or maybe this weekend coming up. You'll get another just random stream with me. It could be on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Hopefully you'll get some more collaborations between other content creators. We're working on some cool stuff right now. Some more ideas. You might even see Pete show back up with the Bombadcast on a live stream.
We're
soon.
all bored. We're all bored. So why not go hang out together?
Well, everyone's creative mind is going right now, and if you're not a content creator, this might be the time to come and join become one. Honestly.
There was a new podcast that, like, today. We're recording this Sunday. Like, someone came into like someone's like post about all of the all these pods that we were actually listed on, and it was one that Anthony. I know you're listening, sir. Shout out to you. Rural Farm Boy was boy. Oh, I'll have to look yins up. I haven't seen you. And I was like, whoa, Anthony doesn't even know about these guys. You don't see that very often. So. But Scott, I want to know how Anthony has that much time when he's not quarantined. Anyway, kudos to you, sir.
He has to listen on double speed. There's just no other way. But imagine listening to us. That'd be awful. I hope everyone
listen to us at halftime, because we'll sound any. If you listen to any podcast, pro tip, half speed. If you have a boring podcast or you don't like a podcast, listen to them half speed, and they sound so drunk. It's hilarious. So,
I'm going to try that. No, remember to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and now Instagram as well. Make sure you join our Facebook group, Bombad Fam. Listen to our episode with Hello Greedo. We're super proud of that one. Came out so well. Also, go to YouTube. We dropped a new YouTube video. Did Rick James write Lapty Neck? It's a great video. I came up with the concept of it. I think he did, only because there's a horn line that's verbatim stolen from Give It To Me Baby, which came out in 1981, and Lapty Neck did not release until 1983. So I'm
just saying, Jedi rocks. You still got that there. That's pretty original.
Still listen to. I can't stand you,
dude. I was rewatching some of the after your live stream with the Leonard Maltin interviews. I looked up some stuff for the special editions, and I watched a trailer for Return of the Jedi special edition, and it says "and a few surprises," and it has you got to go look it up, man. You will hate it, but it's like a full 10 seconds or more of Jedi rocks playing.
It goes to the
God! And it's new footage and a few surprises, and it goes and Zhao Yaoza goes up to the it was a thing of beauty, man. And I was
I'm looking it up right now.
They warned you guys. They warned you all that it was coming. Why are you so pissed? But anyway, I get it. So,
oh my God!
But besides
I'm
that,
special edition trailer. That's amazing.
So Scotty is gone, guys. Follow us at Bombadcast. Go join our Facebook group, Bombad Fam, where we're hanging out over there on lockdown. Talking about the boomer remover and all that. I'm joking. I'm sorry. I'm joking.
Oh my God!
We don't call it that. Be respectful, kids. But anyway, hang out with us over there on Facebook if you're still hanging around. And if there's nothing else to add, you're listening to this at half speed. Because I'm just going to sound like, I don't know, like Palpatine. Lust. But until next time, Bombad fam, stay